Good morning, everybody. I was driving here, and I was driving here this morning, how quick time flies when you have a phone with organic chemistry. It seemed like yesterday I was doing this every 5 minutes, and now you know what that means. Now, someone help me out. I just got through the nomenclature common of primary, secondary, tertiary means. Is that correct? Did I do primary ammonium salts? No. Okay. Let's just do a quick review. Amines are nitrogen compounds or compounds that are derived from ammonia, NH3. Where you replace the hydrogens on ammonia with alkyl groups. And the common way of naming these is to name each alkyl group as the alkyl group it is, and then add the word amine. I think I mentioned yesterday, this is one of my comfort zones because I work heavily in this area of amines and amine derivatives, things that are made from amines, and helped pay for a couple new cars, got me around the world, and a lot of other good things. And the question is, first of all, what functional group is this? Look for something different. Nitrogen, it's an amine, because it has alkyl groups on it. I'll never ask on a test, but it's a tertiary amine. 3 alkyl groups. Remember, when you have this bracket and a number to the right, lowercase, in this case, that means there's 2 CH3 groups on that methyl, and also this alkyl group. And how would you name it? 2 groups is di, CH3 is your old friend methyl. 4 carbons, butyl, with the N carbon, N-butyl. And then you have the word amine. And you could have also called it N-butyl dimethylamine, because it's a common name. There's no rule. Now, nitrogen has a non-bonding pair of electrons, which can be used in a bond. But when it does that, it uses both of its electrons in the sharing, doesn't share from another group, so therefore it has a positive charge. All molecules in nature have a net zero charge, so if this has a positive charge, you're going to need an anion. For this class, I'm going to stick to the halogens, but it can be other things like acetate, carboxylate anion, and a whole lot of other things. A couple of my patents, I use what's called borate anions in quaternary ammonium salt. And this is a quaternary ammonium salt. And I have 10 U.S. patents, and nine of them deal with quaternary ammonium salts. So to say I know anything about quaternary ammonium salts is a big understatement. I know a lot about them. All right, how do you name quaternary ammonium salts? And by the way, I've been trying to be good, because in the chemical industry, when you work with quaternary ammonium salts, everybody uses slang and calls them quats. But I'll try and stay away from that and be good. You name each of the alkyl groups. One day I'll remember to put in a slide for this. And just like the common name for amines, they go in the front. Next, after the names of the alkyl groups, add now there are variations on this. I'll teach you this one. then you add the word ammonium halide. So let's look at some quaternary ammonium salts.
Dr. I have two questions. One, we were in, or when I went to tutoring yesterday, they were talking about
The what?
like for the butyl,
There's N-butyl, there's T-butyl, and there's sec-butyl, which I don't use in my class. I'll tell you what, when you remember it, ask me after class.
yeah, and then the second question is, so in like that equation, you can put a dash between that N and the.
No, you don't. I do. Remember a long time ago I said I put dashes to keep my letters straight? Because on
Yeah.
the board they start drooping to the floor.
Right,
You don't
I just
put it.
didn't know if it was next. Or,
You don't have to here, and that's fine.
okay.
On small ones, I don't usually. When it gets longer, I usually do. All right, let's look at some quaternary ammonium salts. And if we look at the molecule I just drew on the board, the question would be, what is its name? And if we look at this, what's different? What's not carbon? What's not hydrogen? Ooh, and nitrogen. And notice there are 4 groups on there. Notice 2 methyls and 2 ethyls. And hopefully, remember, this is the part of the semester you have to know how to add up to 4. Count that up to 4. Actually, you have to know how to count up to 10. Soon you'll have to know how to count up to 20. That gets real hard. But still, just add and subtract up to 4. And therefore, this is a quaternary ammonium salt. What are the alkyl groups? Dimethyl, diethyl. Doesn't matter which order you put first. I'll do the ethyl first. Because over there I did, or previously I did methyl first. And now, because it's a quaternary ammonium salt, I'll add the words ammonium. And then, because this is a chlorine atom, you drop the I-N-E and replace it with I-D-E, and it becomes chloride. And that's how you name quaternary ammonium salts. The question would be, what's the name of this? And I'll let you try that out on your own. I think I threw everything in there with the kitchen sink. All right, looks like everybody's done. Let's take a look at this. What's different? My hand is drawn to a nitrogen. What's not carbonless nitrogen. It's got 4 groups on it, it's positive charge. It's got a anion, bromide anion. This is a quaternary ammonium salt. So if we look at the groups, we've got a lot of them. I can put down ethyl, this group, then you know that one, methyl. Then I have an N-propyl and an isopropyl. And I'll write it down here so you people can see it. Then you have ammonium, because it's a quaternary ammonium salt. And then bromine becomes bromide. And you have, it can be in any order. I could have started with N-propyl, ethyl, methyl, isopropyl, ammonium, bromide, because it's common. There's no rules about which goes first, second, or third. IUPAC, yes, it was no. All right, now one of the questions I always keep on telling you should be asking my class is, why am I learning this stuff? What good is it to me? Good question. Let's look at another quaternary ammonium salt. Something very dear and dear to my heart. I'm going to use abbreviation. When you get into fats and oils, I'll teach you more what it means. R sub T means a tallow group. Tallow means either C16 or 18 with or without a double bond. Just think of it as being a long chain. And notice this is a quaternary ammonium salt because it has 4 groups, 2 tallows, 2 methyl, plus charge on the nitrogen anion. So, because this is called tallow, there are 2 of them, ditallow. We have dimethyl. And then it's a quaternary ammonium salt. And notice the anion is chlorine, a chloride anion. And this is ditallow dimethyl ammonium chloride. And I worked for a company for many years, and I was in charge of all the research for this molecule, and also helping answer any production problems in North America for this molecule. And you're probably saying, so what? Well, up until about 8 or 9, 10 years ago, if you bought a fabric softener, no matter what brand, this was the molecule that did the fabric softening. It attaches to your clothes because of a plus charge, and the long alpha groups makes your cloth or clothes feel soft. And this even has the acronym, which I never liked using, DITMAC. And this quaternary ammonium salt, whether or not you use Snuggle, Downy, or any other brand, that was the molecule that did the fabric softening. Now, since I know fabric softening quite well, because I worked in this area, and I have a couple of patents in fabric softening, so I know it. First of all, if you use the sheets, it works much better than in your dryer, softening your clothes, than using liquid in your washing machine. Puts more quaternary ammonium salt on your clothes. A couple other interesting stories. Remember I told you to learn a lot about me. There's time to learn about me. One is, we sold the company I worked for at that time was called CHEMI, now it's called Nobel. Sold 50% of the quaternary ammonium salts for the fabric softeners to Unilever, Lever Brothers, Snuggle, and also Procter & Gamble, P&G, Downy. Now, because I did a good job interface with both these companies, Unilever made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I left AXO to work for them. What was the offer? They doubled my salary. That was a good offer, and I couldn't attempt that. And because of that, the level I was at this one get-together in England, senior manager conference, and I spent an evening with a bunch of managers, including the VP of R&D for Unilever, who at the time had been a manager, lower level, when they came out with Snuggle, or about to. And the story he told me, which someone asked him the story about Snuggle and the teddy bear. And I did, we were in a bar in, I think this was in Liverpool, and, or Manchester, one of those two. But he told me the story. He said, at that time, they're coming out with a new product, the fabric softener, Snuggle. And they needed a mascot or something to identify with it. So they had a contest throughout the company. Anybody who came up with the idea that was used would earn a tremendous amount of money. I think it was $25,000 or $50,000. It was a huge amount. Just for coming up with an idea they would use. Actually, if you think about it, it's cheaper going that way than going outside the company and finding someone to create that for you. But anyways, the story he told was he's leaving for work in the morning, and the son's there, was about 3 or 4 years old, holding his little old beat-up teddy bear, going to kiss him goodbye, and this gentleman, the father, said, "Wow, can I borrow your teddy bear?" He thought, that's going to be our logo. And the son said, "No!" And it took him a couple days to convince him, and I forgot the exact things he bribed his son to. So he borrowed for a day or two to get it back. Now, this and this, and the son finally said, "Okay." He brought it in, showed it, and you know the rest of the story. Just go to any supermarket and look at fabric softeners and what's on the box or bottle of Downy, the teddy bear. True story. Now, another thing you should ask, besides fabric softener, why should we learn about quaternary ammonium salts? Well, unfortunate part of my hereditary is bad dental problems that are hereditary. And one of the problems I've had over the years is a problem with my gums. And it's just hereditary. My father had it, and just, anyways, hereditary. So I was going to a great dentist. He said, "Well, you need this mouthwash. You need a prescription. It's a bottle this big, about 400, 300 milliliters, not a pint. It cost $75 a bottle, which was quite expensive, and plus it browned your teeth. You had to brush them more." So I just did my gums. Well, unfortunately, he had health problems. He had to retire for a while. I didn't go to the dentist. I figured, I'm a chemist. This is a mouthwash, and all it's doing is killing bacteria in my mouth. Why don't I use another mouthwash? So I went to the local big box store and purchased a bottle of Listerine, tried it, no good. How could I tell them my gums were hurting? They were inflamed. So I said, all right, go back to the big box store. Is there a difference between the two brands? Well, it turns out Listerine, for the antimicrobial compound, I don't remember which one, uses a phenolic compound, a substituted phenol. And this is an antimicrobial compound. Well, I went and looked at the other big names, Scope, and they use a different one. By the way, if you haven't seen it before, it's time for Dr. White's Show and Tell. And what I found was Scope. And being an organic chemist, waiting for the document. Let's see something. No? Let's reboot this. There we go. Meanwhile, here's a commercial from this stupid company that made these. It's awful. You can see I'll never be a hand model. And if you look at the label right there, you'll see the name acetylpyridinium chloride. You also see benzoic acid, a preservative, sodium saccharide that makes it sweet, sorbitol 80 makes it sweet, and water and alcohol and glycerin. But anyways, what's acetylpyridinium chloride? Well, it's a quaternary ammonium salt. There's other way of naming, common name for quaternary ammonium salt. And if you look at the structure, it's this molecule. Now, I haven't taught you this, but this molecule is called pyridine. And it's a heterocyclic compound. And this is a nitrogen. It's considered a tertiary nitrogen. You can make it into a quat. Excuse me. I guess I'm allergic to it. And this is a quaternary ammonium salt. R here is 16 carbons. Cetyl is the common name, which I haven't taught you, for a hexadecyl, which is the IUPAC 16. And this is also a biocide, or antimicrobial compound. And once I started using this instead of the Listerine, and I had been using the expensive stuff, no more problems with my gums. Now, that's what worked for me, but I'm a chemist and I did an experiment to find out what worked. But I don't buy Scope to go to Walmart and buy their house brand, which is identical and half or more of the price. But I don't get any kickbacks from Walmart either. Someday I gotta figure out how to do that. But why are you learning this stuff? It's in your everyday life. Can you get more everyday life than mouthwash? Not really, and it made a difference. One other story, since I have time. Oh, I got a couple minutes. True story. I was working again at AXO. I was in charge of all production and research and problem solving for dimethyl ditelammonium chloride or ditell-dimethylammonium chloride. I got a call from the VP of Marketing and Sales saying, we got a problem. I said, what's wrong? He said, Procter & Gamble, which we all call P&G, which I'd worked very closely with that company. I had counterparts in their research I worked with, and I knew them quite well, said they reformulated Downy with a new perfume, which is a major change in a company, especially with a big product like that. And we've got a problem. Our product now stinks and our competitors doesn't. And we're talking about $15 million in sales a month. So guess what happened? One, red flags started going up everywhere. And within a day or two, when I got to my office first thing in the morning, right around lunch, and right before I left, I got a call from the president of the company. Our company said, have you solved the problem yet? And it was not a fun time in my life getting those calls 3 times a day. But I was honest with them, no, I'm working on it and I'm doing the best. But after about 2 weeks of trying different things and setting up odor panels, one of the things I learned was certain people are not good for odor panels, not that it's being sexist, but I was told by people at P&G, anybody who's pregnant, don't put them on an odor panel because their nose goes up and down and different. And we didn't have anybody who was pregnant in our research group or into what happened. Where I had an odor panel, and we couldn't solve it. And I finally came to the conclusion I'm not getting the right facts. And I called up the VP of Marketing and Sales and said, I got to talk to someone at P&G to talk about what's really going on. So he contacted me with his equivalent, who was a VP of Marketing and Sales. They wanted this problem solved too. And I said, I've got to talk to whoever saying it smells bad, face to face. I said, I don't know if I can do that. That's our senior perfumer. And there's only, when I worked there were 5 senior perfumers in P&G, which is a monster company. And their job was, whatever area they were responsible for, all those products, what they smelled like yesterday, will smell the same way today and will smell the same way tomorrow, and mainly using their nose. And these guys, I found out, were treated like royalty and beyond. So finally, we were able to set up a meeting, this VP, and he said, all right, a couple of things. One, if you upset this person, we'll never buy from you again. And he was quite serious. In other words, be nice to this person. 2, if you smoke, you can't smoke 24 hours before you meet this guy. And I did smoke, and I honored you because it gets in your hair, your clothes, and everything. And then I said, well, my counterpart at your company who's an R&D, he'll be at that meeting. No. I said, well, he should be. Well, I don't know, let me get back to him. It took a while to convince them to let their own people, because these guys were guarded, because their nose was so important. Because if you bought a product and it didn't smell like it smelled the last time you bought it, what would you think? There's something wrong, I would return it. When you multiply that by 1 million people, that's a big problem. So I got to meet with this person. There are 18 people or more in the meeting. mostly P&G people. And it was just me and him talking, but it was an interesting meeting. I asked him, I've been told it smells. Our product makes your product smell. New formulation. He said, no, that's wrong. He said, tell me what's the problem. He said, the intensity of the perfume with your quaternary ammonium salt is less than the intensity of the perfume with your competitors. And you need to be at the same level. Now I knew what to sell for, not that it stunk. And we were able to find what was the impurity causing that. When we took it all out, he said, no, now it's too strong. We found out, which I can't tell you how, because it's a trade secret, or more than that, more than trade secret, that the impurity was in our competitors 50 ppm. We were at 150. I learned how to adjust that to 0. We then adjusted it to the same as our competitor, 50, and I stopped getting the phone calls because we solved the problem. But it was a 6-week, 8-week period of my life that was not fun. But quaternary ammonium salts are a major, major business, and the profits from this are quite extensive, very high. There's a term for that. I can't use in the class when we talk about those types of profits. But anyway, certain illegal trade. But let's get back to amines. But before I do that, I just realized there's 2 things I didn't talk about, or somebody correct me if I did. There's one common name that became the IUPAC name that you should know. Just like when you have a hydroxyl group on a benzene, it's called phenol. Common name became the IUPAC name. When you have a amine, NH2, on a benzene ring, this is called aniline. Now, aniline is one of the most widely and very heavily produced molecules in the United States for chemical industry. Why? One, aniline is further reacted to make things that are responsible for all the dyes of the clothes you see around here. You look around the room and somebody's wearing something that's not pure white, like this. This is blue because of a dye made from aniline. The other thing that aniline can be made into is another molecule that's used to help make the foam you're sitting on. If you feel comfortable in your car, your home, foam, urethane foam, it's made from aniline. Also the insulation in your refrigerator, called urethane foam, again rigid, not flexible like what you're sitting on, is made from molecules made from aniline. Now, the other thing which I always do when I get into meetings, because I'm always drawing structures instead of writing words, there's 2 types of nomenclature. One I've already gone through. Here's the structure, give the name. The other one's here's the name, draw the structure. And how would you draw the structure? You start at the right and go this way. Amine, well, I know that's a compound with nitrogen. Triethyl, there are 3 ethyl groups. This is one way I could write it. Another way that would be perfectly correct. But you won't see me doing this on a test, because it's extra work for me and my software, and organic chemists are lazy. This would also be correct as the answer. And why don't you try this one? What would be the structure of the following molecule? So everybody like my show and tell? by the way, time for a public service announcement from Dr. White. I don't know about your community, but where I live, today is election day. Right after lab today, I will vote. I hope you all vote if you have elections going in your communities, because brave men and women have died so we can be free to vote. All right, let's take a look at this. How would you draw the structure of the following molecules? Start at the right. Amine, what is that? Nitrogen compound. What's on that amine? N-butyl ethyl. Now, I can put the N-butyl here or here, it doesn't matter which. I could switch these, I could put the N-butyl here, the ethyl here. You can put any one of these on one side of the nitrogen, the other two on the other sides. So there are many variations, and luckily I have a piece of paper at home signed by the Board of Regents of Michigan State University that I will understand if you do that and know it's correct. Now, one of the problems students have and forget is, unlike carbon, nitrogen normally has 3 bonds to it if it's an amine. Well, always has if it's amine. Quaternary ammonium salt, 4 bonds. And we look here, 1, 2, 3 minus 2, 1 hydrogen. And if you look over here, 1, 2, 3, 3 minus 3, 0 hydrogen. And why don't you draw the structure for the following molecule. Doing that. If you came in late, don't forget to sign in. All right, looks like everybody's done. Oh wait, I see people. The last hydrogen just went down. All right, let's take a look at this. How do you decode this? You start at the end. On the right, iodide. Ooh, it's an anion. Ammonium. This is a quaternary ammonium salt, or it could be an amine salt. I'll teach this later in this chapter. But this is a quaternary ammonium salt. How do I know? 1, 2, 3, plus 1 more, 4 R groups on nitrogen. What do I have? An ethyl group. What do I have? Trimethyl. One way of writing it would be this way. You could also have done it this way. And this one, you could put the triethyl here and the ethyl here. There are many variations. You could even put the ethyl here underneath. And now my anion is iodide. And I'm done. Ooh, that reminds me, another trick from the world of business and quaternary ammonium salt stories. I think you're all familiar with Downey. And Downey, one of their big sellers is putting it in the dryer. Their dryer sheets, they came out with that first, if my memory serves me. And when a big company has got a new product and they're going to do a rollout, which is the way of saying sell it to the whole country like the United States, before they do something like that, because the money involved to make all that product, to sell initially is a lot, marketing and sales will do forecasts, how much first quarter, first year sales should be in each quarter. And usually those forecasts are pretty close, not exact, but close. And upper management used those numbers to decide, should we go ahead and do this? Well, they came out with their dryer sheets, and after the first quarter, upper management at P&G, the story I got told one night at a bar and somewhere in Ohio, I won't tell you where, but anyways, you learn a lot of good things from your clients in bars, especially if you can hold their liquor and they can't. But anyways, never do shots with me, trust me. But anyways, found out that the sales after the first quarter was half of what they expected. Not a little below, half. And upper management was very upset. We spent all this money and our sales is half. What's going on? So they did some market research, which means they went out and talked to housewives and had, focus groups like you see. I don't know if you've ever been in a focus group. I have, where they bring in people and ask questions about products. And one of the things I learned from Procter & Gamble people is the profound respect they have for the American housewife and other housewives in other countries, but especially the American housewife. And what they found was the original sheets of Downy, when they started selling it, the American housewife found out you did a load, saved the sheet, there was enough on there to do a second load. And therefore, that's why their sales were half of what they expected. Want to solve that problem real quick? Cut back on the amount of quaternary ammonium salt put out the sheets, sale doubled, because you couldn't use it a second time, and everybody was happy except the housewife. But, true story. All right, I'm going to turn the switch. Will this be on test to the off position? When we talk about amines, a couple of things. Amines can hydrogen bond. Also, amines come from ammonia. And the shorter amines have a very strong ammonia smell to them. And if you've never smelled ammonia, well, all right. But if you've ever smelled ammonia solution you buy from the supermarket, that's mainly ammonium hydroxide. Only a tiny amount of ammonia are you smelling. We're talking about a lot stronger. And I worked for a company that made short chain amines. In fact, one of the first things I discovered was a way to make short chain amines. And trust me, it's strong. Now, amines are usually liquids or solids at room temperature because they can hydrogen bond. What is hydrogen bond? When you have a hydrogen on either nitrogen, oxygen, or fluorine, it can hydrogen bond a weak intermolecular force. Let's look at a primary amine. Again, switches off. The little delta means slight charge. And because of the difference in electronegativities, how strongly they want to have the electrons to them, they'll have this hydrogen bonding. And that hydrogen bonding affects the melting points and boiling points of amines. It also affects, in the shorter ones, its water solubility. And we'll learn later on, it has an important role in things like your RNA and DNA and amino acids. Hydrogen bonding, amazing, tiny little force that's so important in our daily life. If it wasn't for hydrogen bonding, this material inside the bottle would be a gas right now. Notice the water is liquid, and that helped shape how life evolved on this planet. Think about if water wasn't a liquid or gas. All right, how do you make amine? Let's go through this sort of busy slide. Now, if we look at the top, if you take ammonia, NH3, the non-bonding pair of electrons on the nitrogen are nucleophiles. They're looking for anything with a positive charge. Remember, nucleo, positive, phile, lover. And if you have an alkyl halide, you look at the periodic table, here's carbon, here are your halogens, far to the right, they're more electronegative. not as much as a carbonyl, but pretty much enough to make a difference, that the carbon with the halogen, actually the lab you did that I'll be handing back this week, remember the alkyl halides, you investigate SN1 and SN2 mechanisms. Well, this attacks this. You lose H from here, X from there. HX is an acid. So in order to not have that acid do further reactions, you put in a base to neutralize it, and what you'll get is a primary amine. And notice again, you lose the H from here, the X from there, HX, but it's neutralized by the base. Now, near the end of the semester, when we get near the ACS final, I'll teach you about the fact that if you don't have the base, you get the amine salt. Anybody who's ever worked in amines knows you're always going to have a base. Now, people who wrote the question as the ACS test never work with amines, so leave the base out, and it's a bad game or trick they're trying to play. My test will be like this. All right, let's take a look at one of these. If we look at this one, the question is, what's the organic product or products? Remember, these reactions allow you to build the building blocks to make things like mouthwash. And here, what happens? Ooh, ammonia, that's different. Carbon, halogen, alkyl halide. Here's my R group. The carbon with the halogen is the carbon the nitrogen will be bonded to. What's my R group? 4 carbons. Which carbon has the halogen? The N one. So that will have the amine. Remember, 3 bonds to nitrogen. 1 plus 2 hydrogen. Common mistake, students put 3 here. I take off points. The company I work for, Axo, bought a lot of ammonia. We use the bond. And why don't you try this one? What would be the organic product or products for the following? I hope you enjoyed my true stories about life in the real world. Looks like the last carbons are just going. All right, what's different here? Ooh, carbon with a halogen, ammonia, in the presence of base. What do you get? Primary amine, doesn't matter which one you put first or second in the reaction, as long as you're saying you're mixing 2 together. What's my R group? Isopropyl. Do you break carbon-carbon single bonds? No. The carbon with the halogen will be the carbon with the amino group, NH2. I mentioned this, but I'll mention it before, but I'll mention it again. Test number 3 will be like test number 2, except different subject matter. We'll have about 10 points general knowledge, they'll have about 35 points nomenclature and about 60 points reactions. There'll be 3 or 4 syntheses because of the now Supreme Court still outlaws cruel and unusual punishment to students. So let's look at a synthesis. And the question would be, what would you react with ammonia and base to make that molecule? And I'm going to let you solo on your own. Go for it. Oh, one thing students ask at this point, what halogen could I use? Well, since I don't have a salt or anything down there, any one you want. Oh, I gave it away. Looks like everybody's done. Let's take a look at this. How do you do a synthesis? Well, you look at the product and say, what functional group am I dealing with? Or another way of phrasing that, what's different? Nitrogen on a carbon, primary amine. What do you react with ammonia? And a primary, to make a primary amine, alpha halide. What's my R group? This right here. Notice I have 3 carbons across, 1 methyl group here. Which carbon is the amino group attached to? That one, which is this one, which will have the halogen. I'm in the mood for chlorine. You could also put bromine or iodine, and that's how you do that. How am I doing on time-wise? Doing good. All right. Quick thing, I have mentioned this, but recently 1 or 2 students had asked, I had asked after test number 2, if you did real good on test number 2 and would like to work with one of your colleagues here, just do a little practice or whatever, please email me and let me know you're available, and I'll hook you up and people move on from there. Because if you help someone, that makes you even better in that area. With that, I'm going to let you out. I'll hold. Wow, 90 seconds early. That's all that you. Those of you have lab, I'll see you in a couple of minutes. For those of you who don't, I'll see you tomorrow.